everyone and welcome. My name is Joe Brady and we're here with Lee White, New York City-based portrait photographer, but much more, and we're going to get into that. So again, honored to have Lee White on set with us. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah, it's been a number of
15 years or so. Yeah. So Lee is a phenomenal photographer, has a unique perspective on some things, and has photographed corporate executives for everything from junior management to
CEOs and presidents.
And to presidents. So the man's got some experience and some chops. So Lee, really, let's start back at the beginning a little bit before we get into the meat of things.
Okay.
How'd you get into photography?
Well, I went to school down in Pennsylvania, Cheney State College, and when I was down there, I changed my diet. I had an out-of-state scholarship, which meant I had to stay on campus and eat the cafeteria food.
We all love college cafeteria food.
Being at a school, Southern school, the diet was strictly meat, pork, and chicken. And you can't survive off of salad 7 days a week. So being a New Yorker, I would tell the ladies, I said, hey, you're real pretty. You should let me take a picture of you, $5. So I started hustling the sisters, and because it was pretty predominantly black school.
How many male photographers started that way?
Yeah. So, and then on top of my president of the college was a photo buff. And he would have these big dinners in New York City, and he said, Lee, since you live in New York, which was a minuscule trade-off, he said, you can come to the dinners, have a great meal, and take pictures. So I started shooting for the yearbook, the newspaper, and all that stuff.
Great start. I know a lot of guy photographers started out by, it's a great way to meet the ladies. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are your current specialties? What are you focusing on?
I'm venturing over to video a little bit more, audio. I'm working with Logic, and also 3D motion graphics with Motion 5.
All right, and you're still photography. Is corporate photography still a big part of your business?
Oh, it's pretty the core part of the business. Okay. But with photography, the way it's changing so rapidly with the iPad hurting us and the iPhone and all these point-and-shoot cameras, you always got to separate yourself from the crowd.
One thing we're seeing, and we're going to see, that still what makes a great photograph is a control of light.
Oh, definitely.
And that's what we're going to talk about a lot more today. So I recently attended a corporate shoot that you did in the city, and this was a real paying client. This wasn't something made up. This was a real true shoot. And the place you were going, because of what it was, you were going in expecting a very wide range of skin tones.
Well, I knew, because I'm familiar with the organization, their client.
And what was it called again?
The council, but the New York, New Jersey Minority Purchasing Council.
New York, New Jersey Minority Purchasing Council.
Right. They changed their core letters. I know the old one.
Okay.
But, and they're going to beat me up behind that, but hey, what the heck. And I knew that I was going to be photographing 2 women. I didn't know which guys I was going to be shooting, which was very interesting because we had the Hispanic gentleman who was fair-skinned, and then we had the young brother who was very dark complexion, and then the 2 young ladies. I was scheduled to photograph a couple other people, but due to some emergency meetings, that didn't happen.
So when you're going into management, you're going into their office. What's your approach? How do you plan it? How do you get it to happen?
Well, my strategy is always go somewhere early, set my lighting up, and generally I'll use what I call a flat basic lighting because, until the person walks in the room, you know what you're facing.
Right.
So, and in general, I light women kind of flat because, as I say, very few women want to accentuate what I call the character lines.
Character lines. Yeah.
And I also do digital retouching, so. And I'm not inexpensive because, I was trained by a good friend of mine, Janet Went, who I'll mention. She's been a good mentor to me for years. And it's slow. It's like painting. And most clients think that you just press a few buttons and it's done. So I charge a decent rate. But the other side is it does take time, and I always work off my reputation. So I don't want to have to be sitting at the computer for hours retouching something that I can hopefully kind of render in the shoot.
Get it as good as possible on
Exactly.
camera. So you arrive early, and yes, you don't want to arrive at the last minute. Even though you're in the city, you got to give yourself a little extra time to get around. Oh, definitely, yeah. So you've set up your lights, you kind of a basic starting point, and then you mentioned there's a couple of tools that you always use. Oh. Got one here. Yeah. So you'll shoot the color checker and the lights.
It's so funny because now with this new day of the digital age, clients always say, because they're always interested in what you're doing. It's like, oh, I got to do a custom white balance. Why you got to do that? Just, let me do my job, But, I do the custom white balance. I do, import the color checker into my camera profile.
The custom profile, right.
And I use that in Lightroom, and it works pretty well.
And one other piece that anybody that's serious about portrait photography, especially when it has to be perfect right at the get-go.
Your color balance is important, but your meter can kill you or make you.
Yeah. So you're going to see a meter used because, again, this is the only way you can tell what's going on on either side of the face, because your camera can only meter the whole thing.
Right.
This will tell you those ratios. All right. Actually, so the lights. We had kind of a standard set. Why don't we take a little walk back here. Let's take a look at some of the gear that was used during the set. This was a three light setup. And we'll start, this was what you used as a main light.
Yeah.
So we've got, this was a Bowens 500R Gemini monolight, and you chose to use a beauty dish with a diffuser on it.
Well, you know, I like soft things. They're beautiful, you know, but sometimes they're a little too flat. And the thing that's nice about a beauty dish diffuse, you know, if a person has a rounder face, it allows you to do a little bit more sculpturing to the face. And also with the diffuser on it, you know, it just softens those specular highlights, because I shoot everybody, from whites to blacks to Asians and so on, all skin types, so forth. And African Americans have a tendency to have a lot of oil to their skin. And the other thing that I always make reference to, how some of my other colleagues were like, oh, you know, I had a makeup artist. And I was like, dude, my corporate clients, I probably have like that many opportunities where I'm using a makeup artist. So I have to get everything pretty well in camera. And so, you know, it just helps you sculpture the lighting so you're not getting these specular highlights. And also I like to feather my lighting a bit as well. So
corporate clients aren't going to sit for a makeup artist unless they're doing the cover of Time or something like that. They want to be in and out. This is something they have to do, and a lot of them don't necessarily want to do it.
Well, the other side too is like, you know, you get 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. You know, there are situations where I actually might get a half an hour with a client, which is rare. But generally, you know, you're shooting them 5-10 minutes, and you have to get past that point where you're shooting them. And I always say, when I talk to most corporate, senior managers primarily, I can see that meeting in their eyes. And I have to say, listen, do me a favor, stop thinking about that meeting, stop thinking about that next, you know, conference call that you got to make, because I can see it. You're not focused on me, you know. And when we speak about portrait standing or sitting, it's very key to me to have the eyes be focused, you know.
So what do you prefer? It's like somebody already asked a question coming through the system. Do you prefer to have your clients standing or sitting? Do you have a preference, or is it going to be case by case?
I generally have a preference to have them sitting. But you know, the interesting thing I always tell, like I like advertising, used to do a little bit of it, and I would always tell some ad people, art directors, I said, listen, if I'm doing a layout with an art director, it's a whole different structure because it's very defined. When you're doing corporate, it's a pot shot. You don't know who's walking in the room, what they look like, full head of hair or what. But I generally find that it's best for me to have people sit, because just like you see me here, people have a tendency to always go right to their hands. You know, if they don't put their hands here, they put their hands down here, or they stand like this here. And one of the things I said about an executive portrait, it's not a shoulder headshot, it's a headshot.
That's an important distinction. So, you know, it clarified that this is from here. It's not a not a 3/4. So you have maybe a little more control when they're sitting. For someone not used to be in front of a camera.
Well, and that's the thing. It takes most people, you know, 5-10 minutes just to find themselves, as I call it. You know, because you know they're being occupied with what is next. And their attitude, I hate to say, sometimes a lot of corporate folks don't really have a lot of respect for corporate photography. It's like, listen, come on, take the picture, hurry up, you know. And I'm like, don't you want to look good? I said, you know, we can't do this in 2 seconds, you know. And then the other side is you can't be overbearing, because then you lose them as well.
I think that's a good thing. I want to make you look good.
Yeah.
That's something that'll get people to stop for a second and say, okay, yeah, I do want to look good. Yeah. All right, so we've got our main light here. Let's take a while. Let me get this out of the way. Second light used was, again, another Gemini 500, this time with a strip softbox with a soft grid on the front. So what did you use this light for? Well,
what I like about this light here, it gives me the specular highlights, but yet still gives me the control. Because, you know, some light banks, you can feather with them, and that's really good. But with this grid, it gives me a lot more control. I can put the specular highlights on certain portions of the face along the hairline.
We're going to see that in effect, where because of somebody's skin lighter and less hair, had to move the light later. So you use this as a combination hair separation light?
Oh, yeah, kind of fill, hair light. especially with African American hair, it's very dense. And if you don't put a nice amount of light on it, it can just look black. And, you know, and then the other thing that sometimes happens is if your light source is too broad, it lightens up the hair, and then the real killer is it hits the forehead. Yeah. Then you get this big hot spot on the forehead.
That's a really good point, and you kind of alluded to it, but I just want to say it right out. If you've got somebody with dark skin, you don't overexpose them.
No.
You still expose them perfectly right, but you have to be more careful where your lighting's coming from.
Exactly, because as you know, trying to bring down a specular highlight is almost like impossible.
And if you've got somebody with very dense black hair, over bringing that up through exposure is going to affect the face.
Right.
So you just need to put more light on it and have it directional, maybe a little behind to get that little bit of separation from the background. The third light, we don't really need to bring it out. It's just another Gemini head, but for that one, we used on the background.
It gives you that separation.
A little splash of light on the background. Now, since you knew going in this was a headshot deal, you know, this was going to be the shot.
Right.
You brought in a nice, small, portable gray background. Is gray something you prefer to work with?
Well, you know, it varies. I mean, I like white, you know, and I like gray. You know, I generally vary between the two.
Okay. It's a personal preference kind of thing. I know a lot of photographers like gray because you can make gray go almost black just by not pointing the light on it.
Right.
Or you can make it gray, you can make it almost white by throwing a lot of light.
And gray gives you a nice separation. Sometimes you have some folks who, like if I'm shooting some executives, they have blonde hair, and to put them against a white background sometimes doesn't give you enough separation.
Yeah, understood. So two other pieces you used. One was a soft diffuser, and the other one was a reflector. So we're going to see in the videos that you decided to use this two different ways.
Right.
One way was to have it underneath.
Well, that's to bounce some light underneath the neck. Again, as I say, especially shooting women, you have to fill in those shadows. You know, I have some people, they feel like shadows give you more dimension and so forth. But as I say,
if you got a 20-year-old, yes.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. As I say, most executives I shoot aren't 20 years old. So they're in their mid-30s, 40s, 50s. So, you know, you have to be, you know, kind to their...
Keep those shadows gentle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then the other time, you also used it as almost as another light.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty about a silver reflector. It can act brilliantly enough that if you angle it in a certain way, it can catch that particular frontal light and give you a nice fill.
Really handy tool, and it really saves you from having to bring in more lights.
Oh, yeah.
To fill in those shadows. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the first part of this shoot.
Okay.
So there are actually two parts of the shoot. The first one, Lee photographed the two ladies.
Yeah.
So let's take a look.
Nice, that's nice. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Nice, right there. Beautiful, nice, Georgia. You're gonna like these. Yeah, you're looking good. All right, here we go. No, we're gonna. I told you, you're getting the hook up, the hook up. Okay, here we go. Nice. Pretty smile. Nice, just tilt it this way a little bit. Hold it, nice, like that. Okay. Nice. Right about there. I think you may have gone just a skosh too far. No, perfect. Okay, let me move over this way a little bit. 11, now lean to me a little. No, your body, you got to tilt. No, I'm saying you got to put, you know what makes it happen? Take, yeah, then that makes you lean in. Otherwise, you're just tilting down. There you go, George. Nice. Hold that down. Good. I'll turn your head this way a little bit. Turn your head this. Look at me. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Looking good there, Miss Georgiana. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, see, we got some Joe posing.
Thank you.
Oh. I got to close up on her.
So let's see. Let me take a reading and see where we're at.
Okay.
So I'm getting 11 out of her.
You get 11?
I'm getting 11 with these lights.
I know.
Remember, you swapped reflectors too. So you're throwing a little more light in with this silver reflector over there.
Okay. To the side. No. Because I want to keep her skin soft. Okay, so that's 11. Let's see. Okay, that's better. Because I couldn't give her 10.
Yeah, 11's better.
Yeah.
Okay. You're an 11, Letitia. You're not a 10. You're an 11.
You're not a 10. Good. Pretty smile. Excellent. Now lean to me a little bit. Step up. There you go. Nice. Hold that like that. And just tilt the head this way a little. Good. Hold that right there. Nice. Nice. Pretty smile.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, there you go, good. We're gonna make hubby happy. He's gonna say, oh, baby, you did this all for me? There we go. Letitia, tilt the head this way a little. Nice, hold it. And now lean to me in. Good, nice, hold like that. And just tilt this way a little. Good, hold, no. Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. Tilt down just a teeny. Good, right there, nice, hold it. Excellent.
Okay, so we saw the ladies obviously had fun.
Okay.
They were great.
Yeah,
they were great to work with. They're a lot of fun, and they very quickly got relaxed.
Oh, they got the character kind of easy.
So you're very smooth with the ladies, there, Lee.
Oh, you know, what can I say? I like women.
A couple of questions. Let's get to those. So this is an interesting one, and we discussed this earlier. Someone asked I wondered about crossing the arms across the chest in a pose. In psychology and body language, it indicates a closed-off person. Mm-hmm. I often use this in corporate images and often see this in corporate images and find that confusing. Mm-hmm. You have a take on it, and I'll add mine as well, but what is your thought on it?
Well, as we talked earlier, it's not a shoulder headshot, it's a headshot. And crossing someone's arms and having them lean brings the eyes closer to the lens. And then secondly, with corporations, I don't care how it is, you give them what I consider perfect composed headshot, they're going to crop it. Mm-hmm. You know, so given that option of maybe the closed arm leaning in, they probably will crop it just above the arms anyhow. So it will, in some cases, look as though the person's just leaning in. Okay. And then on the other side, you know, that gives them an option to maybe use as an editorial feel. That is, you know, because funny, I used to shoot for Sports Illustrated 100 years ago, and they would always tease me.
You don't look that old.
Yeah, I know. And they would always tease me and say, "Oh, so you shoot suits?" I said, "Oh God, you know, it's like, you know, you can't be creative."
One thing about the whole cross arm thing, and actually I was guilty of talking Georgina into that one pose with one of the crossed arm things. It is true that a crossed arm can make it look like the person is closed off, but it depends what the rest of the body is doing. Right. So if somebody does this and leans back, then yes, that is a closed off kind of stay away. Right. But I think sometimes women, especially in corporate situations, are sometimes at a disadvantage. It's been a man's world for so long. And I personally like to have a woman cross her arms, but then lean to the camera because it shows strength. Okay. And if you've got that crossed arm, but the face is open to the camera, the eyes are right there, to me that signifies I am strong and I'm competent. And you know, I'm not keeping you away. Right. I'm showing you that I'm in charge and I'm in control and I know what I'm doing. Can you define your version when you mention specular highlights? What are you talking about when we use the lights on this? Well,
when you look at some photographs, you'll see the lighting, but then you may look, and one of the things I've always really tried to put a stress point on is to make sure I don't put a big hot spot in the middle of someone's head. But yet and still, if you look at some images which have been kind of pretty much defined as a new trend of digital photography, you'll see these like bright little reflections, which I call specular highlights, on the side of someone's face or maybe along the side of their arm. And it gives a different kind of modeling to the image. Years ago, we may have called those like burned out hotspots. You know, but now with the digital age, you can go in and do a little Photoshop and tweak it down if you need to, or basically as with this type of bank here, it gives you that type of control. You can just really place that highlight where you want it.
You're seeing that a lot in, particularly in sports images. A lot of the stuff you see, the covers with the dark, where they've got the back cross-lit kind of lights, where they've got the bright bands down the other side of the
almost
face.
Like a rim side lighting.
So it's a matter of terminology, but what Lee means is, you know, you're getting that bright fill that's very controlled on one side. Let's see, positioning the reflector.
The reflector can kill you as well or make you. If you bring it up too much, it looks like a mirror. And you have to just find, I mean, that's the difference with photography and lighting. You know, it's just not a cookie cut type scenario. You have to look at the person, you have to feel it out, you have to see the ratio of what that looks like in comparison to your top light, you know, if you have another light. And it can be very subtle, and in some cases, some people can take a full reflector underneath their neck and it doesn't look that brilliant.
Does skin color have a big effect on that?
Oh, big ways, big ways.
So maybe if somebody has darker skin, maybe the reflector's a little closer?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. Like I keep alluding to the fact that with African Americans, they have a lot of oil in their skin, and you have to be very careful of that because those specular highlights can get into an area what I call the blown out highlight, and you cannot retrieve a blown out highlight.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there situations where you would prefer to use a grid also on your main light?
Actually, I like grid lighting a lot. I'm a dance photographer as well. I've been shooting dance for like 30 years, and you know, you develop a very keen sense for lighting because you're dealing with motion and stopping people, and you have to see where that person's going to hit the light, and it gets a nice, you know, what I call just character. You know. So
keep in mind, you know, anytime you put a grid on your light, you're making the light more directional. It's not feathering out to either side as much. So because the light's more directional, you're going to have a chance of creating a little harsher shadows, which again is fine for a younger person. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing a corporate executive who maybe had a few more spins around the sun, you want to soften it. So it's all what you're after with the ratios. Somebody asked about settings on the strobes.
Okay.
And less important a question than what are those strobes then delivering for you?
Well, you know, the interesting thing is I allude to the fact that I've been doing this 30 years and I've worked through large format cameras and we always needed a lot of power. Now with you in a digital mode, you know, f5.6 can be ample, you know. I don't find myself shooting, like if I'm doing a portrait, I don't want to shoot at f16 because you're getting the detail in the background. You know, I know some photographers, I don't live that dangerously, they might shoot at f2, you know, and I'm like, good for you, you know. But I generally find myself to shoot in the area like maybe 8, maybe 5, 6. I'll depend on the size of the person. I may go to f11, you know, but my meter's key.
Yeah, so and that's the key point. So the lights might be at a mid setting to start, but really you need to find out, well, what does that mean?
Right.
And that's where this comes in. You'll see, if you haven't seen it in the video, you'll see it again in the next one, where Lee's just, or one of us was just going up and getting that reading. What's the main light hitting the face? Right. A lot of times we were to f11 or f13 or so.
Oh, 10, f11, yeah.
Then it depends also how far is the person from the background.
Right, true.
You know, if they're further away from the background, even at f11, that background's going to be soft.
Well, that's the interesting thing with corporate photography. You're always fighting for space. You know, you think you can come into a large conference room and you find yourself shooting on the side of a conference table or shooting over a conference table. So you have to really learn how to adjust your lighting. So
when you ask, we see this a lot, and somebody asked this, how do you deal with posing and leaning forward and getting the expression that you want?
You know, I have people tell me, oh, make a joke. I say, I don't tell jokes. I don't. I love you.
He does ask people to say funny words.
Yeah, but I will say to someone after I have them sit, if I'm lucky enough, and the funny part is, I generally have them sit, and I'm kind of commanding, even though I try to be a soft person. I'll have a top executive sit on the edge of a chair's arm so I can have them sitting rather than standing up and holding their hands, and which gets my undivided attention with them because they're not comfortable. And the other side with that is I have them lean in because, again, I want a tightness on the head, you know, making sure the eyes are focused.
A couple other things happen when you lean in. And first of all, it gets rid of some of this. And again, Lee and I were discussing this, and someone gave us a great tip. In fact, I think it might have been Tony Corbell that said when you're asking someone to lean forward, a lot of times you hear photographers saying, you know, point your nose towards me to get your chin up. What Tony says is, I'm pretty sure it was Tony, says, bring your ears closer to me. And what that does is rather than just getting the nose up, it forces the head, almost like a turtle coming out of its shell a little bit more. It forces the head forward and it thins out the area under the neck. So if you've got someone that's, again, carrying a few more kilograms around, even if you're using that reflector up underneath, it has the effect of stretching out. And I think that's one of the reasons that some people look good in video as they're moving, and it's harder to photograph them. Because they'll end up in a kind of a different position. We've got a lot more questions to answer, but let's take a look at one more video first. This time, you got the guys.
Okay.
So how is your approach? Is your approach with the guys different than it is for the ladies?
Oh, totally. I mean, guys will always be a little tense, because, they don't feel like it's something that they really need to do. Women love to get photographed. I've not found many women who don't want to. There are those.
You got Jen. Jen doesn't like to get
photographed. But a lot of the guys who feel they're so important, I got to get this done. I got to get it done quickly. So you have to find some light ways to make them relax, and little key words here and there.
Do you have a different approach when you're photographing, say, a junior executive, as we're going to see a couple guys that kind of fit into that profile, versus the CEO, versus you've photographed, what, George Bush?
Yep.
Junior or senior?
I got senior, I got Bill Clinton, and also Obama.
So you've got really high-end CEOs there.
Yeah.
Do you have a different approach?
My attitude is I try to respect everyone. I mean, as I mentioned before, corporate photography is built on relationships. There are a lot of good photographers out here, but the big difference is who likes you, who's going to pick up that phone, who's going to make that call to refer you to someone else. Or as one colleague or client of mine said, can you get someone to speak your name in a room that you're not in?
Mm-hmm. If you guys get nothing, if there's nothing you remember out of today, the one thing that Lee's been very successful with is developing those relationships. And of course you're expected to be competent. You have to know how to deal with light because photography is about the lighting.
Right.
But that relationship is equally as important.
Oh, it's very key. It's very key.
If people are comfortable with you, they know you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver, and they like spending time with you, they're going to call you back and they're going to refer you. So that's really important. Yeah, let's go back to the shoot.
Okay.
Let's take a look. This time we've got the two guys. And let's see Lee in action, because there was a change that happened midway in this shoot that we'll come back and talk about. Take a look.
Move you in and out, and I'm gonna have you rotate, which you normally have a stool, but I don't have that. Okay. So sit for me. I'm gonna give him basically the same lighting real quick, and then I'm gonna change the light up.
Okay.
Okay.
Changed.
He's getting a little brightness on, because since the women had all the hair.
11.3. So
Okay,
you're
yeah.
actually at 12.
Okay.
Or 13 rather.
Yeah. Okay, Edwin.
And yeah, since he doesn't have the hair covering the left side of his face,
yes,
let's feather this back a little more.
There you go. Thank you, sir. All right, Edwin, tilt down just a teeny, right there. Hold it, blinked. Okay, not so smart, not so stern. A little bit of smile there, Captain. There you go. Say money. See, money always gets it. And here's the next one, watermelon. See,
watermelon.
say watermelon. It makes your mouth move. Trust.
So you're gonna short light him a bit?
Yeah. Actually, it'd be interesting to see what that looks like without the diffuser on it once I see what this light looks like. Okay, let's get a reading. Yeah. And that would tilt down just a little bit, just a little, just like that. Nice smile. Nice. There you go. Yeah. Excellent, man. You're getting there now.
Yeah, that's
your look.
That's your look. For
yeah. Yeah, that real, no smile look won't.
It works on some people, but not on others. You look better.
Okay, now we're gonna do a little Hollywood. Lean to me. Okay, good. Nice. All right, hold it like that. All right, there. And just rotate the head a little bit this way. Nice smile, Edwin. Nice. Good. To me, right there, hold it. A little bit more to me. Turn. Yeah, that's nice. Hold that right there. Nice smile right there, Edwin. Hold it. Don't move.
Make believe Lee is this really good-looking girl across the room.
There you go. Nice.
It's hard to do. I know.
There you got him, Joe. He got the mind right
he
caught the mind. Okay, here we go, Edwin. This will be about 13, 16.
16.9. So you turn your head right towards me. Tilt it. Yeah, this was a serious one. And now look up here. Chin up a little bit. There we go.
11.
At 11.5.
All right. So 13. A little bit. Good. No. You gotta be slow. Just be slow. We're not rushing you. Just tilt your head this way a little. Hold right there. Nice smile. Come on, give me the smile, brother. Say money. All right, there we go. Good. It's the Hollywood look, Andre. Come on, baby. Give it to me. There, nice. Right there. All in your grill. Turn. Look, hold it. Two things I'm asking you. When I say tilt your head back, you have a tendency to rear back. So don't rear back. This, if you're in this position, Andre, look at me. Just tilt it like that, okay? Money? All right, here we go. There we go. That's it. We got you. We got you. There, you're in the zone now.
Okay, and we're back. Had a lot of fun with the guys as well.
Yeah.
I noticed one thing, and a bunch of questions coming in about this, about the positioning of the lights. But with the guys, you started with the same set you did with the ladies.
Right.
Your beauty dish was just slightly off axis of the camera.
Right.
I think it was just to the right of the camera. So you're getting a catch light about 1 o'clock in the eyes. What kind of angle do you use for that main light coming down to the face?
You know, one of the things like I'm very conscious of what I call the specular highlight. The center part of your light is hot. So I try very hard to center the hot part of the light to the chest. So that way I'm still feathering, but yet and still I'm hitting them with a very direct light. So I'm getting them at like maybe a little 45-degree angle.
So about 45 up,
yeah.
Okay. And then when you've got somebody that's got deep set eyes.
Well, you know, I try not to kill myself because I'm at 22, carrying out a lot of equipment. And that's where reflectors kind of really come in key.
Okay.
You know, I'll might bring out 2 reflectors compared, but generally with corporate photography, I'm always bringing 2 of everything. Okay. Because I say Murphy will get you in the most unbelievable situations. But as I said, I've been trying to carry less equipment, and reflectors kind of, silver reflectors kind of help you in that genre. And sometimes I may turn around, like say someone with a deep set eyes, if I'm using a white background, I may let it go just a little gray and then take that background light and shoot it into that reflector and just like try to open up their eyes a little bit.
Open up that way. Another thing you can do is you can try to adjust the height of your main.
Right.
Maybe bring it down a little closer. Let's see. This is a really good question. Your decisions on camera height versus the face and body type.
I generally shoot kind of, I won't say necessarily straight on.
Eye level?
Eye level. But the interesting thing is, one thing I never do is shoot up anyone's nose. You know, you get some folks, they want to raise their head up, and I said, well, no, I don't want to see up your nose. Could you just tilt your head down a little bit? But I have found that in some cases, I may actually shoot at a lower level than I would normally with some folks, because, you know, it makes them look a little bit more statuesque or a little bit taller. Yeah,
there's a power thing. And again, we're talking headshots versus full length.
Right.
It's more common to shoot up to somebody if they're standing full length to get that kind of power thing.
Right.
But if someone's sitting, maybe
well,
not.
that's the funny part. It's like, you know, I always say there's rules to be broken, because I generally would always shoot an eye level, maybe a little bit above the person, but there was a situation where another photographer, you know, because I always listen to my colleagues, he said, well, Lee, why don't you shoot up on her a little bit, you know? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. And then I tried it, and I said, oh, this is not too bad. So sometimes there's some people who can, what I call, they can take it. Yeah, I'll do it.
To that point, I think maybe what the question might have been going for is we've all been taught when you're photographing someone that's a little heavier or a little rounder, that you shoot down on them.
Okay.
Because that forces their head up, and again, it's to get the area under the chin. I think with a headshot, especially a corporate kind of headshot, I really like that idea of asking them to bring the ears closer to the camera, because that, you know, again, think of a turtle having their head coming out of the shell. That has the same effect without forcing the rest of the body to do that. So if you've got someone leaning forward a little bit, get their butt right at the edge of the chair.
And that's what I was talking about earlier with the chair, is I generally always have people sit because I make them lean forward. You know, and if they don't, and generally what I'll do is I'll get them up and I'll sit and say, listen, this is what I want you to do. I call it my Hollywood pose. I said, I need you to lean into me. I said, it's called a headshot. I want to see your eyes, you know. And
again, that's the whole thing. Ask them to bring your ears closer.
Okay.
That has the same effect on the chin, underneath the chin, as the raising up without the distortion of the rest of the head. So it's a good trick for headshots. You have a favorite lens for your portraits?
Pretty much right now it's the 105. I shoot with Nikon.
Okay.
And would love down the road to get the Nikon 85 millimeter.
So this is a 105, and again, you're shooting a full frame camera, so it is a 105.
Right.
That would be like a 70 on a crop frame sensor.
Yeah, somewhere in that area.
Okay. Let's see, light ratios. Do you like to go completely flat, 2 to 1, 3 to 1 when you're dealing with someone who has darker skin?
I generally won't go 3-to-1 on someone with darker skin, because also I do digital printing, and the whole genre where I tell some clients sometimes where they'll see something and I'll say, you got to understand that if you go to print, it's going to go down a grade. So I generally try to keep it at 2-to-1 maximum.
Okay, so 2-to-1 meaning that you've got one stop less on the shadow side. Someone asked about zoom settings on the light hitting the backdrop. There's no zooming. This isn't the speed light. These are studio strobes, and what was used on the background was just a simple reflector. I can grab one, but there's no zooming going on. Positioning of the main light with men and women, and actually we were just getting there. The one thing that I noticed you changed when you were photographing the women, you kept that 45 slightly off to one side.
Right. Well, you have to have a little modeling. You know, if it's
a little bit, yes.
Yeah, if it's too straight on, it can look like an on-camera flash.
But with the guys,
yeah, you can
halfway through the shoot, you decided to go more to a kind of a short, standard kind of short lighting portrait.
Well, you know, men can stand that deep shadow type of photography, as I call it.
And again, yeah, it's the, what do you call them?
Character lines.
Guys don't seem to mind those as much.
Well, you know, it gives a male a little bit more character to their face, and women don't want they don't want to see that.
Yeah, I think we'd have a tendency to be taken a little more seriously with a little bit of wrinkles.
Yeah.
Ladies, no, there's no reason to accentuate the wrinkles. Let's see. Portrait or landscape? Well, yeah, you were shooting portrait primarily.
Oh, 99.9%.
Again, you're doing headshots.
Yeah, I'm doing headshots.
Different kind of thing.
Well, you know, if you do editorial, you can swing it around and do maybe a landscape, but 99% of most portraits are vertical.
This is a really good. Oh, so somebody asked if you were shooting tethered. You were not.
Interesting enough, I was a beta tester for Lightroom 4, and Lightroom, which I use, is a great program, but then all of a sudden they decided to kick Nikon out the box, and things then started getting a little crazy with this tethering, because before, when I would tether, it was cool, there was no problems, but then I started running into these problems that if my camera sat too long, it would lose its connection.
Yeah, you do have to you have to go into the camera and turn off that sleep mode. Yeah. It's a personal thing. I almost always shoot tethered. It's whatever there's nothing wrong with doing it either way. Lee did have his assistant take the card out of the camera after the first subject was done, and then downloaded them immediately so that the subject could see it, but he was able to continue shooting.
Right, because I have a memory card.
With the second subject just on the other card, so swapping back and forth, it's another option. Here's an interesting question. The office has fluorescent lights that you can't turn off. Have you been stuck in that situation?
Yeah. I mean, I generally, if I can, I like turning my lighting off so I can see my lighting, but there are times you just can't do it.
So someone asked, you know, do you green gel all the lights? Well, actually you wouldn't green gel, you would magenta gel, because fluorescent lights have a strong green spike in them. That would be really difficult to do.
You have 10, 15 minutes with a client, there's no way in the world.
Generally, when you're dealing with studio strobes, though,
they're overpowered.
They're going to overpower that light. And that's the beauty of having a custom profile done with the color checker. If you create one with the combination of the studio lights and those room lights, and it sees a little bit too much green coming through that spike, the custom profile will correct that. It'll take it out. So if you don't have one of these, buy it. You want one. It'll just make your color better. And when you have those kind of weird mixed lighting situations, it'll fix for it. Let's see. You used a mix of masculine and feminine poses with your men and women. How much does it matter? Let's clarify first. What is a masculine and what is a feminine pose? So a woman can be in a masculine or a feminine pose. Yeah. So it's hard for me to do sitting down. So if your head tilts away, if your front shoulder's low and your head tilts away, that's a feminine pose.
Okay.
If I do that, you know, it's kind of like high. A masculine pose would be my low shoulder, my head is tilted towards it. You can do that with a woman, masculine or feminine.
Yeah, you know, I really don't distinguish too much between the two.
Okay.
You know, because my main focus is I'm an eye person. I want those eyes to have like a nice sharpness to them, the focus of the attention that, you know, the person's looking at them, then they're looking straight into their eyes. When I lean a person back, again, like I said, it gets into that scenario, it becomes a shoulder headshot. because the shoulders are broader.
Actually, you bring up a good point, because I noticed you did this with some of the posing. You keep your head tilts very gentle.
Yeah.
They're pretty straight on.
Yeah.
So when you do that, it's not masculine or feminine posing. It's really, and again, since you're dealing with this, that might end up on a website or a corporate, those annual report kind of thing. You're not doing kind of that classic.
Well, I'm not doing family portraits, and I always tease folks. There are a number of folks that you take their picture, and they tilt their head, and I said, it's not that heavy. Just bring it up a little bit and then center it out.
Let's see. Do you have a particular shutter speed you like to work at?
Oh, no. I'm shooting studio lights. I'm shooting at 60th of a second.
Okay. Again, understand the duration of the studio lights are providing in that dark room really 100% of the light.
Oh, totally.
So your shutter speed actually doesn't even matter.
Well, I'll say this. When I'm doing editorial work or interior work, then it really starts to become a factor that I'll drag my shutter, depending on what the ambient light is like and so forth.
Okay. JPEG or RAW?
Always RAW.
You heard that? No JPEGs. When you're taking an exposure reading of dark skin, we talked about this before, and this is an important point to get. Do you open up from that reading to not underexpose the skin?
Key again is your meter. If you have developed a very good relationship with your meter's not going to run you wrong. But there are some situations where, as I keep mentioning, even with white skin and black skin, some whites have a more reflective pigmentation to their skin, and you can shoot them and they will come out or maybe a half a stop brighter than what your meter is indicating, but you have to trust your camera as well.
Yeah, so really the answer is not to overexpose it.
No.
But if you feel that the skin needs more light, add more light.
Well, you have to properly expose African American skin. If you overexpose it, it starts to look pasty. And one of the things, I guess this is my genre, I find that an overexposed shot is sometimes, even though there's that whole theory exposed to the right, that you still want a good exposure.
Yeah, I'm a big exposed to the right guy when it comes to my landscape photography, but not for portraits.
Right.
For portraits, I want them perfect and to a third of a stop.
Yeah.
A third of a stop off is gonna have an effect.
Purpose of a light meter.
That's what the meter does. Another good question, and we talked about this as well. You brought it up. How do you adjust for clients wearing glasses that are reflecting the light?
Oh, God.
What do you work around?
Yeah, I hate it. I will sometimes ask a client if they're more comfortable with their glasses on and ask them if they would take them off, which sometimes they'll like, oh, no one knows me without my glasses. Or with the one that I really love is that, I can't see you. You don't have to see me. All you have to do is open your eyes. I said, listen to my voice. I had a portrait session years ago with Governor David Patterson, who's partially legally blind. And it was challenging. And I talked to David and I said, David, just follow my voice, follow my voice. And then when I got his eyes to the right point, boom, boom, got him.
So the thing about glasses is, the size of your light source is going to affect it. Actually, a bigger light source probably creates more problems. Using the beauty dish was nice. But something we talked about earlier that you can try is to gobo the light. So what that means is it's a go-between. Just some kind of little piece of black material, just something opaque that you can position in between the light source and the glasses. The light's going to wrap around it.
It's going to wrap around it.
But you're just keeping that one little center hot spot from maybe reflecting back into your camera lens. And it can be as simple a thing as just getting them to move their head a little bit.
Well, that's generally, I do have to shoot a lot of people with glasses, and you do have to, that's the real key, is positioning your light if you have the ceiling height, which is the other side, which gets real daunting with corporate photography, because 90 times out of 10, you're shooting a corporate conference room.
You don't have high ceilings.
And you don't have high ceilings. So you have to really work on positioning the person's head.
So again, to that point, the other thing you can do is ask them, please, just let me take one picture of you without your glasses, because then Photoshop to the rescue and you can put the eyes back in from the non-glass shot. So it's an option. Do you ever use speed lights, or is it always studio strobes?
It's funny, I have a colleague who was just telling me, Lee, you need to get rid of all that heavy strobe equipment and do speed lights. And I'm like, dude, I shoot corporate executives. There's no uh-ohs.
Yeah.
I think I shoot a lot of on-camera flash stuff. I do a lot of public relation photography, but I'm not putting my career, at hands with speed lights and, having something go wrong.
Yeah, speed lights are great, and light is light, but there is a perception also, and you got to use some professional gear. we've actually gone over the time we were going to allot, but a couple things that have come up that are really good questions.
Okay.
First of all, what would you say to a newbie, someone coming in who wants to get into doing corporate headshots?
It's interesting. As I said, I've been doing this 30 years, and I find this new generation of photographers, they birth themselves. Yeah, their attitude is like, hey, I'm as good as this person, that person. But there are certain things that you develop from being around a more tenured photographer. I mean, I've had situations where I've gone into a corporate environment, and I generally always hired the photographers rather than assistants up until recent. And I would get some photographers, they were like, a person would come in and be real short and quick with this, and they would want to, this is my shoot, and they want to like maybe confront the client. I'm like, are you crazy? I said, no. It's like, you're being run over. I said, no, dude, listen, I'm coming back. You probably won't, But I said, you have to develop relationships with people.
So spend some time assisting.
Assisting. You learn the different tricks and, because stuff happens. And, all the time. Murphy will come at you in so many different ways. And sometimes just being with another senior photographer, they show you how they overcome a certain challenge.
Don't get flustered. Say, okay, here's the problem. How can we fix it?
Yeah, let's just be cool and relax,
So know your gear.
Know your gear.
Be prepared. Be there early.
Oh, you always got to be early.
Spend some time with someone more experienced so you can learn the ropes.
Well, the other side, too, that helps with a senior photographer or I call more experienced photographer is how they handle the client.
The relationship.
The relationship. The relationship is, I would say, maybe even more key than being a very good photographer because there are a lot of good photographers out here.
You need to be good. That's a given.
You got to be. That's the standard.
But it's the relationship as well. What's coming up for Lee White?
I'm doing a breakfast shoot over at Pier 61, shooting for this AIDS organization. And I'm going to do what they call the step and repeat and the on-camera flash stuff. And I'm hoping to do some multimedia stuff for them because I've been shooting video and also doing audio editing with Logic. And I'm also doing 3D motion graphics with Motion 5.
So that and still a lot of corporate shoots.
Yeah, that's pretty much my mainstay.
All right. Lee, it was great to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
It's good to spend time with you again. I hope you guys picked up something you can use. How do people find you?
Well, I have a website, which is leewhite.com. Phone number is 917-584-8000. I
don't know how we got the 8000 number. I want that. You don't have to remember that if you didn't have a chance to write it down. We'll send a follow-up email to everybody. We'll give you Lee's website address. We'll let you know how to get a hold of him. So that's it for today. Again, Lee, thanks for coming up to spend some time with us. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, we'll be back again next week if you want to tune in. Until then, keep shooting and be well. Bye-bye.